My name is Cynthia Fusillo. I'm an artist from New York, and I've been living in Barcelona for about 8 years. I would consider myself an intuitive artist, experimental. I'm seduced by natural materials. I like being a foreigner, not belonging to one particular group. It makes me feel more universal. I'm in my studio, it's almost as if I'm dancing, you know, and I'm like orchestrating all of these different ideas that are happening at the same time. So I have a pile of papers of small drawings that I've done. I have, I don't know, I have dirt and sand in a corner. I have a heap of leaves. I'm burning wax. So it's, the work in the end is kind of this composition, this symphony of all these different elements that I have around me. I like to work with small pieces and make a whole. There's a sensuality and there is a life with these materials. It's like they're alive. You know, it's dirt, it's sand, it's wax. Many times I get an idea from a material. I have a sensual connection to the material, and then that starts to resonate with me. Physics just kind of follow it. I love the process. That really is the most important thing to me. Okay. It's kind of, you know, it's the journey of the work. I work in parts, and maybe one day I'll come into the studio and I feel like doing feet. And one day I come into the studio and I feel like doing hands or heads. And so I do many. I work on many things at once. The first thing that appeared here was the skirt. And from the skirt, also before the skirt was the materials. I had dirt and I had sticks in my studio. And again, it's kind of an intuitive feeling. You know, I pick up materials without knowing what's going to happen. I have been very interested in dresses and skirts for years. I did a big dress years ago. And since I was working on the figure, most of the figures come from my body, since I don't have a model. At this point, after working for so many years, I feel like I have a file, I have a lot of experiences, I have a lot of visual vocabulary. Some years ago, I started to do some installations with sand. And, you know, it reminds me, I feel very connected to the world, to the earth when I'm working with dirt, when I'm working with sand. And I feel close to beginnings. And beginnings really interest me. Anything that is indigenous or natural to its habitat or place just calls to me. I love this feeling and I love this idea. A lot of these things I think are about beginnings when I think about it. The fire, the beeswax, the action of spreading earth on, I mean, I'm an artist, so I want to make a piece, so I use paper, which the paper to me is also like skin. I love the idea of skin. I love the idea of, which I think a lot of my work is about right now and in this exhibit, about fragility and strength. And I think of the skin as protecting, but also being very transparent. I discovered poetry personally very late in life, and I was very surprised at how accessible it is. And I started to write maybe 10 years ago, 11 years ago. Again, very intuitively. I had a feeling, an intuition that this is something that I could do. I don't know, poetry I think is a way to really excavate the authenticity and your authentic self. The project, again, has developed from years ago, and it started out as a collaboration. And every time I show it in a new context, it has a different life and it has a different meaning. When I think about it, my work is quite intimate and personal. And I can't think of anything more personal than a bed. When I think of a bed, I think of love, I think of death, I think of birth, I think of sex, I think of desire, I think of romance, so many things. One thing that has to happen to me when I'm working with a figure is I have to fall in love with the figure. And then, well, the work just flows. And this, I like this angel a lot because, well, I like, it's almost in a fetal position. It was a total experiment for me. I covered it with beeswax, and then I took a match to it to see what would happen. So all of these brown spots are me trying to burn the paper. And then when I saw that the wax was dripping down, I was very happy. I love the contrast of this kind of delicate embroidery with this very primitive act of burning and putting something on fire. Here, I don't know, I see some aggressivity, but I also see something very delicate and very thoughtful. Also, I love to leave the threads hanging from the different pieces. I don't. Also creates movement and, you know, the line that changes all the time. You know, none of this exists without someone looking at it. But what I would wish for is that people are moved, that people feel something moving inside of them. Maybe some kind of reflection, self-reflection. I would like that it would touch also an authentic place inside of others. I want people to feel something. I want them to get some kind of emotion from it. When I listen to certain poems that touch me, I don't understand why they touch me. Sometimes I don't understand the words, but somehow they give me a license to go deeper in myself. And maybe that's what I want this work to help people to have a license, you know, to go deeper into themselves or whatever they're doing. My work is about connection.